In the world of football, some players are remembered for their goals, others for their trophies. But every once in a while, a player comes along who just transcends the sport. Today, we're diving into the story of an artist, a survivor, and an absolute icon of resilience whose career was a beautiful, chaotic mix of triumph and tragedy. We're talking about the one and only Roberto Baggio.
Just think about that for a second. When a legend, an absolute titan of the game like Polo Maldini says something like that about you, you know your story is something special. He said this as Baggio was walking off the pitch for the very last time, and it just perfectly captures the hole he left, not just in the sport, but in the heart of an entire nation.
All right, so what was the big deal? What was it about this guy that inspired that level of love and respect? Well, for millions of fans around the world, it all started with his nickname, Il Divin Codino, the divine ponytail. Now you hear that and you think, okay, it's about the hair, right? And yeah, of course, the hairstyle was iconic. But the most important word in that nickname is divine. See, when people watched him play, it felt like they were seeing something that wasn't quite earthly. It was like watching a genius at work, creating these moments of pure magic on the field. And get this, that divine talent, it showed up early. Just look at this number. 45. As an 11-year-old kid, he scored 45 goals in just 26 games. That's not just a promising kid. That's a sign of a true prodigy, a hint that a genuine genius was about to hit the world stage. But here's the thing about stories like this, right? It's never a straight line to the top. And for Baggio, right when his professional career was supposed to launch into the stratosphere, it almost came to a brutal, heartbreaking end. So he's just made the big move. He signs for a major club, Fiorentina. This is his moment. And then, disaster. He suffers an absolutely catastrophic knee injury, the kind that has ended countless careers before they even got started. And to give you an idea of what we mean by catastrophic, look at this number, 220. That's how many internal stitches they needed just to piece his shattered knee back together. Let that sink in. This wasn't a tweak or a sprain. This was a career-ending event for almost anyone else. And those are his own words. The doctors, the experts, the general consensus was, that's it, he's done. His career was over before it ever truly began. This is the moment his story should have ended. But really, it's where his real story, the story of his resilience, truly begins. And that fighting spirit, that resilience, man, it would be put to the ultimate test on the world's biggest stage. This brings us to the most famous, the most dramatic, and maybe the most heartbreaking chapter of his entire story, his journey with Italy at the World Cup. Now, before we get to that penalty kick, and you know the one I'm talking about, it is so important to remember his overall World Cup legacy. Look at this. The guy was a legend for his country. He's the only Italian player in history to score in 3 different World Cups, and his 9 goals tie him as the nation's all-time top scorer in the tournament. By any standard, he was a World Cup hero for Italy. And this right here, this just perfectly captures the whole paradox of his career. In '94, after playing the tournament of his life, he misses the one kick that defines everything, the ultimate agony. But then, you go 4 years later. He gets another chance, steps up to take a huge penalty, and buries it. He called that moment liberating. The agony and the ecstasy of a career, all defined by what happens from 12 yards out. So how do you come back from a moment like that? A failure so public, so devastating, that the whole world saw it. Well, for Baggio, the answer wasn't something he found on the training pitch. It was found in a spiritual journey he'd started years before, one that gave him an inner strength that football never could. Remember that career-destroying knee injury we talked about? Well, it was after that nightmare that he converted to Nichiren Buddhism, and it became the bedrock of his life, his anchor, the source of peace and perspective that would help him get through all the crazy highs and crushing lows of his career. And right here, in his own words, you can see his entire philosophy. It wasn't about winning at all costs. It was about finding an inner peace that couldn't be shaken by a missed penalty or a bad press clipping. That mindset is what allowed him not just to endure, but to thrive. And that resilience, that inner peace, it fueled a truly legendary club career. Just look at this timeline. It's a journey through the absolute royalty of Italian football. Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. Playing for just one of those clubs is the dream of a lifetime. Baggio played for all 3, and he left his mark on every single one of them. So when you put all of this together, the goals, the pain, the comebacks, the heartbreak. What do you get? What is his lasting legacy? Well, it's defined not just by what he won on the field, but by the kind of man he was off of it. And let's be clear, the official trophy case is staggering. He won the Ballon d'Or, was FIFA World Player of the Year. I mean, they named him Italy's Player of the Century. The record books absolutely love this guy, and for good reason. And he backed it up with cold, hard numbers. 205 goals in Serie A, which at the time was probably the toughest, most defensive league on the planet. To score that many goals there is a testament to his incredible skill and his amazing longevity. But honestly, this is the slide that tells you who Roberto Baggio really was. The same guy who could dazzle millions on the pitch dedicated himself to humanitarian work off of it. A goodwill ambassador, funding hospitals, helping earthquake victims. He was even given the Man of Peace award. It just proves that his true greatness went way beyond the lines of a football field. And that brings us right to the heart of Baggio's legacy. He's remembered as much for his grace, his fight, and even for his most famous failure, as he is for all his victories. It leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? Is true greatness measured by the trophies you lift, or is it measured by the human story of struggle and redemption that you inspire in all of us?